All I can remember is how beautiful the day was, as in contrast to what was happening in our lives. Our lives had imploded.
The rug was pulled out from under my life and my family's life.
I was even, like a little child, I was even chilled. I felt chilled from the uncertainty and the unknowability of what I was about to face. It was a bit terrifying.
I had already seen what chemo and radiation could do to people.
My mother, who had died just in '99 from lymphoma, and whom I had taken back and forth to the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics for treatment. I don't know why I had that thought. I guess it was a dark thought, but maybe that was meant to prepare me for my own death.
I think that experience had a profound impact on the entire family, but especially his views on radiation and chemo and the medical establishment, because he probably didn't want to subject himself to the slow poisoning of an otherwise healthy body.
Welcome to the Incurables. I'm Don Wildman. Isa Califf had always been a practical man, a realist. Some might call him fatalistic, or perhaps even a pessimist. Whatever people labeled him, in the back of his mind, Isa always viewed his mother's lost battle with cancer as a foreshadowing of his own inevitable fate. It had been a painful ordeal for him to witness his mother's decline. And all along, Isa felt his mother's doctors had been ill-prepared to help her fight this deadly foe. No matter how hard he tried, Isa could not shake the nagging feeling that he too was destined to fall prey to cancer. But when that dreaded phone call finally came, he still wasn't ready. Isa would need the support of his entire family to wage this war for his very life.
By all accounts, the Califf family was living an American dream. Isa was an Oxford-educated professor. His wife Rebecca and their 2 children enjoyed a full life in small-town Iowa. Isa knew hard work was the surest path to success, and he was purposeful in everything he did.
In many respects, I was a type A personality.
He's very meticulous and very neat and very organized and very high-strung, and sometimes internalizes outside chaos and disorganization.
I led such a busy life. It's sort of a self-imposed busy life, and just kind of to fill things, and of course there was enough demands to do so.
He was rational, skeptical, and so therefore he was always looking for proof. And so if you couldn't show him proof, well, he just didn't put very much stock in it. He was a pessimist by nature. I was the optimist. And I always felt that no matter what, and I'm not saying I'm a Pollyanna, I just had this personality that when I was faced with a problem, I always felt like you find a solution and you just do it.
There was that part of my personality that was always there, you know, somehow just positioned, lurking in the background, that was always weighed down on me, and I could never really understand the source of that.
Isa's negative feelings intensified when he began to notice that physically he was not himself. He was certain it wasn't all in his head. Something just wasn't right.
One of the symptoms or signs I ignored was a difficulty in sitting.
I started noticing that there were changes happening to him.
Besides the persistent discomfort when I sat down, there was on several occasions there was a sharp pain.
That side of him, that melancholy side, was getting a little bit too melancholy. I started to see that he was getting more and more depressed. And I think it was affecting our home life.
Subsequently, it didn't go away.
Those things were bothering him deeply, but he wasn't putting it all together, and I don't think he was really paying attention to what his body was telling him.
Under my wife's pushing and prodding, I went to a local medical doctor who was a friend of ours, and he did a rectal examination, and he said, well, the prostate feels normal, and he mumbled something to the effect that it was nothing.
Issa's cautiousness led him to get a second opinion. He was referred to urologist Dr. Gus Harb, and sure enough, was diagnosed with prostatitis.
When he came in, his prostate felt to be abnormal at that time, and because of the infection, we decided to give him antibiotics for a month to treat his prostate infection.
At that point, my husband and I decided to come and see our daughter, so we traveled from Iowa to Colorado to see her.
And on the way there, the discomfort wouldn't go away.
And there again, this kind of melancholia had taken him over completely, that he really couldn't even enjoy his time with his daughter.
My mother-in-law pointed out to Rebecca, what is wrong with Issa? He seems sick, ill. And so I realized then that I had these cavernous eye sockets and my energy was so low. And so on my way back, on the drive back, I knew something was wrong, but I tried to rationalize it. And when the month was over, with the antibiotics course, there was a slight improvement, but fundamentally nothing changed.
As part of our evaluation, we examined the prostate again, and his prostate felt to be still abnormal. We thought this is fairly unusual, and we decided to pursue with further evaluation.
Dr. Harb decided to check his PSA.
The PSA was elevated up to 21, and for his normal age group, it should be less than 1.8. So that led us to pursue with prostate biopsy.
I remember the next morning waiting for that phone to ring was very scary.
We took 12 core biopsies, and out of these 12 core biopsies, he had 10 with cancer.
When the phone rang, Rebecca answered it. I instantly turned into a fearful child. I almost didn't want to hear it. She told me that he said it was a nasty cancer, it must have advanced rapidly, and he needs to see me immediately.